The Middle Ages, the period of European history between the 5th century and 15th century, is an era with an unfounded reputation, also called the Dark Ages or medieval times. Most people associate this time with brutal cruelty, devastating wars, and great plagues. Worse, it's often considered as a time when society, academics, and the arts did a backward slide. Although there were wars, plagues, and a fair share of cruelty during the Middle Ages, it was not a period in history where intellectual pursuits came to a halt. Great strides were taken: the spread of Christianity, the Crusades, the 100 Years' War, the Battle of Hastings, the Magna Carta's penning, and Geoffrey Chaucer's works are just a few of its highlights. A number of very important inventions were made in medieval times, such as printing press, compass, astrolabe, spinning wheel, gunpowder, mechanical clock, and tidal mills. A large number of inventions came to be during the medieval period, given that the medieval period was marked by warfare throughout the different parts of Europe. Most of the significant inventions of the period were directly or indirectly related to warfare. However, there were other inventions such as the clock, printing press, and architectural innovations which played a critical part in shaping medieval Europe. Here are some of the most important of these inventions from the medieval period. Johannes Gutenberg's printing press.
Printing press. The basis for the modern printing press were laid in 15th century, when Johannes Gutenberg of Germany invented a unique printing press by his own. By using the prevalent printing mechanism, he used a new method and equipment to speed up and automate the process of the printing. Before his press, books had to be printed required a lot of labor and took a lot of time to make, essentially limiting to the use of books to the wealthy people. The Gutenberg press became a precursor to an expensive printing press which were established all over Europe, and become one of the key inventions that made Europe evolve into modernity.
Compass. A compass is a device that helps in recognizing the cardinal points of the Earth, namely north, south, east, and west. Being able to determine these directions was vitally important to the sailors, navigators, diviners, and ecclesiastical authorities since the days of classical antiquity. Although some rudimentary types of the compass existed in China and probably Mesoamerica before the medieval period, it was in medieval Europe that the earliest versions of the modern compass, as we know it, was invented. Compass in medieval Europe came to be simply a result of the need of navigators, sailors, and merchants to safely traverse the waters of the Mediterranean. Astrolabe.
An astrolabe is a device that is used for a wide range of astronomical calculations. Historically, astrolabes have been used by navigators, astronomers, and anyone who studied the movement of celestial bodies. Among the calculations that an astrolabe can compute are the positions of the sun and the moon, the exact computations of the region's latitude and local time, the motions of the planets, and the movement of the stars. Although basic versions of an astrolabe have been existent since classical ages, it was during the medieval period that more sophisticated and advanced variants of astrolabe were constructed. Most notably, the spherical astrolabe was a medieval invention dated to the early 10th century.
Spinning wheel.
Spinning wheel. The spinning wheel was originally invented before the medieval period but in Europe. It came to be widely used only in the medieval era, in contrast to the earlier spinning methods used in Europe. The spinning wheel was far more efficient and allowed the spinner to spin greater amount of thread in less time. This finally made it possible for well-spun clothes to be worn by an increasingly greater section of population in medieval Europe.
Tidal mills were important medieval invention dating back to the 8th century. They were usually employed near natural water bodies, such as rivers, and were driven by the high tides of the water body in the countryside. Such as mills were frequently used to accomplish different mechanical tasks. The force of the water itself was used to drive the water wheel on its own. Such early use of mechanical energy can be seen as precursors to the use of electricity in the modern period.
So, this is also one of the inventions during the Middle Ages time, the mechanical clock. During the early medieval period, many different timekeeping devices were used. Nearly all of these devices had been adapted from a period of classical antiquity, with little to no innovation happening in timekeeping devices during the early medieval period.
Gunpowder is considered the most important military invention of the medieval period. With the advent of gunpowder in Europe, the nature of warfare changed radically, and this had a deep impact on the social and political outlook of the late medieval Europe. In many ways, arrival of gunpowder contributed to the transition of Europe from the medieval to the Renaissance period.